Hey guys, so I know that I needed to do an update on why I have not posted pregnancy tests for the last cycle. Well, for the last cycle, I was recording the ovulation tests, and it came time for testing week. And I was recording the first test at 7 DPO, and I got a faint line as a positive, and I got excited, and so I started like dipping my cheapies and stuff, but none of those were coming up. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're just not as sensitive as the Ferrera first response 6 days sooner. So I was like, okay. So I tested again the next day, didn't get any darker, texted again the next day, and it got darker. So I decided to dip the internet cheapies, and still they were not coming up. So I was like, my head was telling me there's something up here. Like, there's a reason why only the first responses are coming up and none of the internets. And then I decided to record again at 10 DPO. 9 or 10 DPO, I decided to make another video to see if it was going to be darker. Sure enough, it came up positive. Like, there was a clear positive, and I was like, okay. I was out of tests at that time, and so my husband took me to the Target, and we got 2 more boxes, and I was like, okay. And I came home, dipped it in the same pee from that morning, and it was negative, and I was like, okay, there's something up. So then I held my pee for like 6 hours, and I was like, okay. And I dipped it again, came up positive. So I dipped the internet strippies again, like 3 different ones again in that same urine, came up negative. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, my head was telling me faulty tests, but my heart was telling me, oh my gosh, we're pregnant. No, that was not the case. So got up on 11 DPO, 10 or 11 DPO, tested, came up negative, and I was like, okay, I'm not pregnant. I had a freak out, and I was like, I'm going to dip another test in this same urine. So I dipped another test in that urine, came up positive. I was like, So I had 1 more left in the box because I had a pack of 3, and then I had a rapid results for the first response. So I dipped the rapid results, came up positive. I dipped another for the other first response out of the box, came up negative. And I was like, dude. So I dipped more internet strips, negative. And at that time, I was like, yeah, there's something up with the test. So I told my husband, I was like, go out and get me 1 more box. We're going to test again. I was like, 1 more box. And so we tested with all of those boxes. With that other box, and it was a box of 3. And I also dipped a clear blue and a Digi. And I was like, yeah. So I dipped them all negative. I was like, okay. So the first response during that cycle that I left you guys on after the ovulation was horrific. Like, I just the first responses are just horrible right now. So I posted it in one of the VR groups that I'm in, and on another group that I'm in, and a lady had posted that, oh my gosh, that happened to me last month with my cycle. She's like, the first responses are horrible, and she put on there one of the websites and for the reviews. I was like, okay. So I read through it, and sure enough, like, tons and tons of ladies were getting actual positives, like true positives on first responses. And a couple of the ladies were trying for like 3 to 4 years, and the first response did that to them. And they were like, I went into depression. Like, it really messed me up. Like, you need to take these off of the market. And so they advised me to call. So I called first response, and I let them know, well, this is a matter that they do know about, but they're not pulling them off the shelves. Like, and in the UK, I believe they did pull them off the shelves because of it. But here in the US, of course, they didn't pull them off the shelf. So they stuck, like, they're like just trying to get rid of the batches that they just messed up. Like, I don't know if they have somebody new, like a new company, like producing their tests, but the tests just are not reliable right now. And from the research that I did, it goes back to last year. So the batches made within the last 2 years are not so good. And so first response were my go-to tests when I was testing with my pregnancies. But now they are literally being compared to the blue dye tests. And everybody knows that the blue dye tests are horrible. Like, you just don't test with the blue dye test unless you know you're pregnant, because it can leave the dye run on the test. On the testing line, it can come up positive when it's not. And it just collects dye. Like, that's just the way it is. So I was just like, dang, like, crud. And so the first response when I called, they were like, well, we can send you out some boxes. And yes, we know that, you know, we apologize for the inconvenience. And I was like, you guys have these out here and you guys are selling them still. Like, you guys need to pull those off the shelves, like every batch, like pull them off the shelf. And they're like, well, we don't know which batches and we don't know this or that. And I was just like, like, okay. So what they were doing is sticking the $2 off coupons on all of them. So I am just letting everybody know, be warned when it comes to using first response TCCing. For me personally, I'm telling people to stay away from them right now until like those batches are cleared out, because they're not taking them off the shelf. They're not going to pull them. They are going to try to recoup money from it since they made them, so they still want to make their bucks off of them, which is kind of messed up, because like I said earlier, there was a couple of ladies that have been trying for like 3 to 4 years, and it messed them up. Like, they said they went into a really bad depression. Now, I was very upset, but it didn't like get me depressed or anything like that, because you guys know me, I'm just too positive and too happy. But it did make me upset. But not like upset, but it made me upset because I was like, dang, like, that's messed up. Like, that's messed up. But then I got over it, moved on, and we are on the next cycle. So yeah, so I just had to just kind of do that cycle on my own. And then the next cycle, my next cycle after that one, I just kind of decided to do on my own. And we are on to my next cycle. And I believe we are on cycle 5 now. So yeah, and so we are going to pick back up on cycle 5. I just needed to take a break and kind of like, you know, do a thing. So yeah, so that is what I caught up on, and yeah, it just was a sucky cycle because of that. So yeah, so for this upcoming cycle, there are some things that I'm going to be changing. Me and hubby are still going to be doing it, of course, you have to. But I decided to implement the soft cups and my menstrual cup. And then, well, you guys already know I've been taking my prenatals. Like, I always take those. I'm implementing my folic acid as well. And that's actually a must with me because of our daughter that we had lost. She had a neural tube defect, anencephalus, or I still cannot say it, but it's a neural tube defect. And so with pregnancies, I am required and told that I need to take extra folic acid. So I implemented that again, and the cups, which I will show you guys in another video about the cups, because as you guys know, I am a cloth pad user, and I just was very hesitant on using the cup. Like, I had the Moon cup and I would use it every now and then, but it was always uncomfortable for me. And since I wanted to implement a cup on this cycle, I decided I'm gonna try it again. And I've always had the soft cups, because when we were trying for Bubba, when we were trying for Bubba, I decided to try the soft cups, and Bubba is 3, so about 5 years ago, and I just have had that box sitting there, so I'm implementing that box, and I ordered another box, but they're too big for me. Like, they're just too big, but I'll show you guys in another video on what that is. So that is my update, and I'm going to be updating my videos. I'm about to ovulate for this TT cycle. And like I said, I apologize for that, but after that happened, I just kind of needed some to get through a cycle, get through that cycle, get through the next cycle, and be like, I just needed some time to myself real quick. And then I also will be posting more videos because I got some other news that is finally official. And so yeah, so not pregnant. Had a sucky end of the cycle to that cycle. So yeah, so we are picking up. So the next video that will be up will be it's either gonna be the ovulation testing starting, because I'm cycle day 10 right now, and I usually start taking my tests about cycle day 12, 11, 12. So it'll either be that one, or else it's gonna be what I'm using for this cycle, what I'm going to be using for this next cycle during my fertility window week for that. And what I changed, what I implemented, what we're doing now. So yeah, so that is the update, guys. It is like 10 o'clock here. I'm getting ready to jump in the shower and I'm going to bed. This mama is done for the day. Night, guys. And I hope you guys understand, and I will see you in the next video, guys.